first speech was in Chinese in my club. And I know it was absolutely terrible. But everybody pretended they understood me and gave me this big applause. And Bruce was my very first evaluator. And he's heard this many times. And he stood up and he said, "Diana, it took a lot of courage for you to get up here and give your C1 speech in Chinese. It was very, very, very good. Your tones were very, very good. But practice makes perfect." That was his nice way of saying, you need a lot more practice. Okay? So, there's a way of saying things. This is my point. There's a way of saying things. Alright? So, if, my tones are like an accent. You can work on them. You can say it in the right way. He knew that I could improve my tones because he saw the determination I had to give a speech in Chinese in the first place. But if this is someone that's on the stage that could be an A24 speaker with a very strong accent, the last thing you want to say is that your accent was so strong I could barely understand you. That's just not a good evaluation. Don't ever say anything like that. Don't repeat yourself. Lots of people repeat themselves, Oscar. You'd be surprised. Don't repeat yourself. Okay? This is something I like to do. For evaluations in the same club, you can listen to, you hear people's evaluations. And then when it's time for you to evaluate them, you can say, "Oh, I remember in the last evaluation for the last speech that you gave, the person mentioned that you really needed to work on having a better conclusion. I think this time it is a lot better." Or you can say, "I noticed that there doesn't seem to be much of a difference from the last speech. Maybe you want to work on that," and give an example. Now, not all of us have great memories, but some of us have smaller clubs. Like for fluency, that may be more difficult. But for those of us that are in smaller clubs, we can remember the last person's speech. And it's helpful. Okay? Okay, so now, contest stuff. I know you guys want to know, how many people are going to participate in the contest? Raise your hand. That's it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Are you a member, sweetheart?
Yeah.
Are you a member? He's a member, okay.
Yeah.
Member, okay. Okay, and Angel, you have to participate. Okay, so for those entering the contest, let me give you some tips. So, my first tip is prepare your paper properly. So one thing that I noticed we all did when it was time for our evaluation, we had our paper and then we folded it into different pieces. Or if you want to, you can use your pen and get a ruler and do it, okay? And then we separated it out. And this is something I'm going to want all of you to do in just a minute before Gary gives his speech. And you see all these different squares?
Yeah.
Each square represents a different thing. And then you have to write the heading for each thing. Okay? So for me, I would always put, like right here, introduction, body, conclusion, for example. Humor, audience response, vocal right, anything, okay? But I use each box for a separate thing, okay? And I put the headings for each box. So then, you're listening for certain things and you can just put check. That was pretty good. Oh, this is a problem. Big face. Okay? All right? So actually right now, you didn't put anything, like if you didn't write anything on the back of your agenda, can you do me a favor and just kind of like fold your paper up into different squares, okay? All right? And if you need to know, I should have put this in my PowerPoint, but for Gary's speech, we'll do this it's supposed to be which is like organization, effectiveness, value, audience response. You want me to write this on the board?
Yes.
Okay. Can I pull this up? Sorry, Jim, I'm going to erase your hat. Okay. So, these are things I'm going to just summarize here. Organization, and for organization, you can decide what you're going to do. Like for me, I always put intro, can you see? Intro, body, conclusion. Okay? In body, you may say, okay, I need to hear examples. It depends. This is what I do. And then you can say effectiveness. Now for effectiveness means like twist, like what Oscar was talking about, like wordplay, twists, surprises. Like, was it interesting? Basically, was it interesting? Okay? Then value. Like Oscar said, value is important in our speeches. He believed the other guy, Francis Morris, would have won if he had value, but he didn't want to have a value. It was ramblings of a foreigner. So he was just talking, right? So he had no value, right? Okay? Audience response. Is it funny? How loud is the laughter? Okay? Haishua told Oscar, if the audience doesn't laugh really, really loud, at least 3 or 4 times, you're not going to win. He told him that. Okay? All right? Body language. Okay? Voice. This is important. This is important for humor. Your voice needs to change. If it sounds the same all the time, you're usually not going to be funny. There's only one person I know that can sound like this all the time and still be funny. That's Dennis. He's in my club and he talks like this all the time. And he's still funny. But most people can't do it, so I'm going to try it. Okay? And then, you know, grammar. I'm not going to put the rest of it, but then grammar. And then you decide, if these aren't things that you think are important, you write down what you're looking for. Like, everybody has their own thing. Okay, some people value's big. For some people, if the grammar's a mess, like forget it, you'll never win. Okay? Some people like this, effectiveness. Like Oscar, wordplay, twist, surprises, interesting, informative. I'm a big organization person because I'm an English teacher. You know, I think about everything like it's a composition. You know, you have to have a thesis statement, an introduction, and a topic sentence. Like, things have to be organized for me. Okay, did everybody get this?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just finish up before Gary comes up here. Okay, so you format your paper, know what you're looking for, okay? How many positives, how many improvements? You don't have to write it out, just use plus or minus. Okay, it's quick. Say something different. Look at this. A lot of times when you hear an evaluation and the judges are trying to decide, everybody says the same thing. Everybody says the same thing. And you're just like, oh. Again and again and again. But you want to know what? If you come out and say something different, if you found something that nobody else found, you're going to stick out. And the judge is going to put the points in your favor. Okay? Say something different. So if you see all the obvious things, okay, say, well, you know, what was the one thing that I thought that, you know, they really could have worked on, but it wasn't a huge deal, but it would have made their speech so much stronger. What not to say? That you have a strong accent. Don't ever say that. That's like the worst thing ever. Or to say, you know, you really have to work on the he or she. Okay, yeah, you can say work on the he or she, but give a specific example on how they can improve the he and she problem. Don't just say, you have to work on the he and she. I was confused your whole speech. Okay? Oh, and this one, I talked